She made her choice. And it wasn't me.
The smell of bleach and broken dreams hit me like a slap every morning at 6 a.m. My name's Eric Daly, and I fix toilets for people who make more in a day than I see in a month. Welcome to the glamorous world of hotel maintenance at the Rosewater, where the only thing more overflowing than the pipes is the BS. I was elbow deep in a clogged sink when my life went sideways. Not because of the sink. Heck, I'd been wrestling with worse plumbing problems for 15 years. No, it was the text message that lit up my phone like a neon sign in a graveyard. Working late again tonight. VIP guest needs special attention. Don't wait up. J. Janine, my wife of 8 years. The woman who used to laugh at my stupid jokes and didn't mind that I came home smelling like industrial cleaner and other people's problems. Lately, she'd been working a lot of late shifts as a housekeeper here at the Rosewater. A lot of special attention for VIP guests. "Hey, Eric, you look like someone pissed in your cornflakes," Pete Martinez called out, wheeling his maintenance cart down the hallway. Pete was my work partner, a guy who could find humor in a funeral and had been keeping me sane for the past 5 years. "Just thinking about how much I love my job," I muttered, shoving my phone back in my pocket. "Right, and I love cleaning up after rich-a-holes who think champagne belongs in hot tubs." Pete grinned. "Speaking of which, you hear about the drama on the 7th floor last night?" "What drama?" "Your wife's friend Paula was telling everyone in the break room about some VIP guest who's been requesting Janine specifically for his room service. Apparently, he tips real well." Pete's expression shifted. "Real well, if you know what I mean." Something cold settled in my stomach. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, man, just hotel gossip. You know how people talk." But I did know how people talked, and in a place like the Rosewater, gossip spread faster than bedbugs. I'd been hearing whispers for weeks, staff members going quiet when I walked by, meaningful looks exchanged over coffee in the break room. That night, I got home to our small apartment to find Janine already there, which was strange considering her text about working late. She was in the shower, singing some song I didn't recognize. On the kitchen counter sat a bottle of expensive wine, the kind that cost more than our monthly electric bill. "Hey, babe," she called out when she heard me come in. "How was your day?" "Same old crap. Where'd the wine come from?" "Oh, that. One of the guests left it behind. You know how it is. People check out and forget half their stuff." I picked up the bottle. Dom Perignon. The label was pristine, no dust, no signs of being abandoned. Must have been some guest. Janine emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel that looked suspiciously new and expensive. "You complaining about free champagne, Eric Daly?" "Just wondering why rich people suddenly started leaving behind bottles that cost $400. She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Maybe they're finally developing some class. Come on, let's celebrate." "Celebrate what?" "Do we need a reason?" We drank the champagne, made love, and I tried to ignore the voice in my head asking why my wife smelled like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. But the voice got louder over the next few days as I started paying attention to things I'd been too tired or too trusting to notice before. The new lingerie that appeared in our laundry hamper. Lacy, expensive stuff that Janine claimed she'd had forever. The way she'd started taking her phone with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. The fact that she'd suddenly become very interested in working the night shift, specifically when certain VIP guests were staying at the hotel. Then I found the shoebox. I was looking for our tax documents in the bedroom closet when my hand bumped against something hidden behind her winter coats. A Nike shoebox, heavy and carefully concealed. Inside, I found enough evidence to make my stomach twist into a knot. Luxury soaps and shampoos from the hotel, still in their packaging. Silverware with the Rosewater logo. A small jewelry box containing a men's Rolex. And underneath it all, a thick stack of $100 bills held together with a rubber band, but it was the note tucked between the bills that made my hands shake. "For services rendered, can't wait for next time. V." I sat on our bed staring at the evidence of my wife's betrayal and felt something inside me break. Not just break, shatter into pieces sharp enough to cut. Because this wasn't just an affair. This was theft, and my wife was apparently very good at it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Janine. "Another late night. VIP guest is very demanding. Love you." I stared at that message for a long time, then carefully put everything back in the shoebox exactly as I'd found it. But I took pictures first. Lots of pictures. Because if my wife wanted to play games, I was about to show her how a maintenance man handles problems that need fixing. The next morning, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years. Pete covered for me without asking questions. That's the kind of friend he was. Instead of fixing other people's problems, I decided to investigate my own. I started with Paula Hendricks, Janine's work friend and the biggest gossip at the Rosewater. Paula knew everyone's business, and if there was dirt to be found, she'd have a shovel ready. I found her in the staff break room during her lunch break, scrolling through her phone and eating a sandwich that smelled like tuna and regret. Eric, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be unclogging some rich guy's toilet? Called in sick. Hey, Paula, can I ask you something? Her eyes lit up. Paula lived for drama like plants lived for sunlight. Sure, honey. What's eating you? It's about Janine. People have been talking, and I'm wondering if there's something I should know. Paula glanced around the empty break room, then leaned forward conspiratorially. Oh, sweetie, you really don't know, do you? Know what? About her and Victor St. James, the guy in the penthouse suite. He's been staying here for 3 months, and he specifically requests Janine for everything. Room service, housekeeping, special arrangements. She made air quotes with her fingers. What kind of special arrangements? The kind that happen after midnight and involve a lot of cash changing hands. Look, Eric, I like you, but your wife's been playing a dangerous game. Victor's not just some rich tourist. Word is he's got connections to some seriously shady people. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, shady people? I mean the kind of people who don't report their income to the IRS, if you catch my drift. And Janine's been helping him with more than just fluffing his pillows. Paula pulled out her phone and showed me a series of photos she'd apparently taken in secret. Janine entering Victor's suite with a large duffel bag. Janine leaving the same suite 2 hours later without the bag. Janine meeting Victor in the hotel parking garage at 1 in the morning. I've been documenting this for weeks, Paula said. Not because I want to hurt Janine, but because I'm worried about what happens when this all blows up. And trust me, Eric, it's going to blow up. Why are you showing me this? Because you're a good guy who deserves better than being married to a woman who's turned your hotel into her personal criminal enterprise. That afternoon, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed my own wife. Janine's shift ended at 4, but she didn't leave the hotel. Instead, she took the service elevator to the penthouse floor. I used my maintenance key card to access the same floor, then hid in a supply closet with a clear view of the hallway. At 4:30, Victor St. James emerged from his suite. I'd seen him around the hotel before. Tall, silver-haired, the kind of guy who wore $1,000 suits and acted like the world owed him a favor. He was carrying a briefcase and looked like he was heading out for the evening. But he didn't leave. Instead, he knocked on his own door in a specific pattern. 3 short, 2 long, 1 short. Janine opened the door from the inside, and I got my first clear look at what my wife had become. She was wearing a black dress I'd never seen before, jewelry that definitely wasn't from our anniversary, and a smile that made my chest ache. She looked beautiful and dangerous and like a complete stranger. Did you get everything on the list? Victor asked, his voice carrying clearly down the empty hallway. Every item. The Hendersons in 412 never even noticed their watch was gone. I replaced it with a good fake. They'll never know the difference until they try to sell it. And the Johnsons in the presidential suite? Their jewelry is already listed on the website. We should have buyers by tomorrow. Victor handed her the briefcase. You're cut from last week's sales. You're becoming quite the entrepreneur, my dear. That's when Janine noticed me. Or rather, she noticed the supply closet door, which had apparently drifted open while I was straining to hear their conversation. Our eyes met across the hallway, and for a moment, time stopped. Then she slammed Victor's door shut, and I heard frantic whispering from inside the suite. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I took the stairs down to the lobby, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was running a theft ring out of the hotel where we both worked. She was stealing from guests and replacing their valuables with fakes, then selling the real items online. And now, she knew that I knew. My phone buzzed with a text. We need to talk. Meet me at home in an hour. Please don't do anything stupid, Jay. I stared at the message and laughed, but there was no humor in it. Don't do anything stupid? Lady, I was just getting started. But first I needed to gather more evidence, because if Janine thought she could manipulate her way out of this mess, she was about to learn that 15 years of fixing other people's problems had taught me a thing or two about taking things apart. I didn't go home. Instead, I went to my sister Melissa's house across town. Melissa was a paralegal at a law firm, sharp as a razor, and had never particularly liked Janine. If anyone could help me figure out my next move, it was her. Eric, what are you doing here? You look like heck. I need your help, Mel, and I need you to promise me you won't say, I told you so. She poured me a beer and listened without interruption as I laid out everything I'd discovered. When I finished, she sat back in her chair and whistled. Holy crap, Eric. Your wife isn't just cheating. She's running a sophisticated theft operation. This Victor guy is probably using the hotel as a front to fence stolen goods. What should I do? Legally? You should report this to the police and file for divorce. Practically? You should document everything before you make any moves. These people sound dangerous. I already took pictures of the stuff in the shoebox. That's a start, but you need more. Financial records, communication between them, evidence of the thefts. And Eric, you need to be careful. If this Victor guy really does have criminal connections, he's not going to take kindly to being exposed. I spent the night at Melissa's, ignoring the increasingly frantic texts from Janine. By morning, I had a plan. I went to work early and accessed the hotel's security system. As maintenance supervisor, I had clearance to review footage for safety purposes. What I found made my hands clench and my jaw lock. Weeks of footage showing Janine entering guest rooms during her shifts, staying for suspicious amounts of time, then leaving with bulky cleaning carts. Footage of her meeting Victor in secluded areas of the hotel. Footage of them together in ways that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. But the most damning footage was from 3 nights ago. Janine and Victor in the hotel's business center at 2 a.m., photographing items that looked suspiciously like the jewelry I'd found in our closet, then posting listings on what appeared to be auction websites. I copied everything to a secure drive, then went home to face my wife. Janine was waiting in our living room, still wearing the black dress from the night before. She looked like she hadn't slept, and her eyes were red from crying. Eric, please sit down. I can explain everything. Can you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been stealing from hotel guests and sleeping with your fence. She flinched like I'd slapped her. It's not what you think. Really? Then explain to me what I think, because I'm pretty sure I saw you and Victor discussing how to replace stolen watches with fakes. We needed the money, Eric. You know we've been struggling. Bees. We've been getting by just fine. This isn't about money. This is about you wanting more than what we have and not caring who you hurt to get it. Janine started crying, the kind of tears that used to make me want to hold her and promise everything would be okay. But now they just made me angry. I love you, Eric. I've always loved you. Victor means nothing to me. He's just business. Business? You call sleeping with him business? It's not like that. I pulled out my phone and showed her the security footage. Her face went white as she watched herself kissing Victor in the hotel parking garage. Still just business? Eric, please, we can work through this. I'll end it with Victor. I'll stop the other stuff. We can start over. Start over? Janine, you've been living a double life for months. You've been stealing from people, lying to me, and screwing another man. What exactly are we supposed to start over with? She fell to her knees in front of me, grabbing my hands. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything. I'll make this right. Looking down at her, I felt something I'd never felt before in our marriage. Complete and utter disgust. Not just for what she'd done, but for thinking I was stupid enough to fall for her act. You want to make this right? Here's how you make this right. You're going to help me destroy Victor St. James. She looked up at me, confusion replacing the tears. What? You heard me. You got yourself into this mess by choosing him over me. Now you're going to help me get out of it by choosing me over him. Eric, you don't understand. Victor isn't someone you mess with. He has people who... Who what? Who hurt people who get in their way? Well, guess what, Janine? I'm already hurt. You and your boyfriend made sure of that. So now we're going to return the favor. I pulled my hands free and stood up. You have a choice. Help me bring Victor down, or I go to the police with everything I've found. Either way, your little criminal enterprise is over. But if you help me, maybe we can figure out if there's anything left of our marriage worth saving. Janine stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her calculating her options. Finally, she nodded. What do you want me to do? First, you're going to tell me everything. Every theft, every sale, every detail of how this operation works. Then, you're going to help me set Victor up for the kind of fall that'll make sure he never bothers anyone in this city again. And then we'll see if I can ever look at you again without wanting to throw up. It was harsh, but it was honest. And as I watched my wife realize that her tears and apologies weren't going to fix this, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, like I was in control of my own life again. Over the next 3 days, Janine told me everything. The theft ring had started small. Victor had noticed her during his first stay at the hotel and propositioned her, not just for closeness, but for information about wealthy guests. He'd convinced her that rich people wouldn't miss a few items, especially if they were replaced with convincing fakes. What started as stealing soap and towels had escalated to jewelry, watches, and electronics. Victor had connections to buyers across the country, and the Rosewater's wealthy clientele provided a steady stream of targets. Janine's access to guest rooms and her knowledge of their schedules made her the perfect inside person. "He made it sound so easy," she said, sitting at our kitchen table with her head in her hands. "Just a little extra money, nothing that would hurt anyone." "How much money are we talking about?" "Over the past 6 months, maybe $40,000. My cut was about 15. I stared at her. $15,000? Where the heck is it?" "Hidden in accounts," Victor set up. He said it was safer that way, that we couldn't risk having large amounts of cash around. Of course, Victor had been controlling the money, which meant he'd been controlling Janine. She'd been as much his victim as his partner, though I wasn't ready to forgive her just yet. "What's his real name? Victor St. James sounds fake as heck." "I don't know his real name. He always paid for everything in cash, used fake IDs for the hotel registration, but I know he's got a house somewhere outside the city, and I know he's planning something big." "What kind of big?" "There's a charity gala at the hotel next weekend. All the wealthiest people in the city will be there, wearing their best jewelry, carrying expensive purses. Victor wants to hit multiple rooms while everyone's at the party." "And you agreed to this?" Janine looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "I was going to say no. After you caught us, I was going to tell him I wanted out. But Eric, he's not the kind of person who lets people just walk away." That's when I knew we were in deeper than I'd thought. This wasn't just about catching a cheating wife and her boyfriend. This was about stopping a criminal who saw my wife as a disposable asset. But it was also an opportunity. "Here's what we're going to do," I told her. "You're going to tell Victor that you're in for the gala job, but instead of helping him steal from those people, you're going to help me make sure he gets caught in the act." "Eric, no. You don't understand how dangerous he is." "Then help me understand. Because right now, my choice is either to go to the police with what I know and hope they can protect us, or to handle this myself and make sure Victor St. James never bothers anyone again." Janine was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "What do you need me to do?" "First, I need you to act normal around Victor. Don't let him know anything's changed. Second, I need details about the gala job, when, where, how he plans to do it. And third, I need you to trust me." "Do you still love me, Eric?" I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and tried to find the woman I'd married 8 years ago. She was still there, buried under layers of lies and bad decisions, but she was there. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I'm willing to find out if you help me fix this." The next morning, I went to work with a new sense of purpose. I had 4 days to plan Victor's downfall, and I intended to make it spectacular. Pete noticed the change in my mood immediately. "You look like a man with a mission." "Something like that. Hey, do you still have that friend who works security for the mayor's office?" "Tony? Yeah. Why?" "I might need a favor, a big one." "This have anything to do with the rumors about your wife?" I stopped working and looked at Pete. "What rumors?" "Come on, Eric. Half the staff knows something's going on between Janine and that VIP guest. The other half thinks you're too good a guy to deserve the crap she's putting you through." "And what do you think?" Pete grinned. "I think Victor St. James picked the wrong maintenance man's wife to mess with." That afternoon, I put the first part of my plan into motion. Using my access to the hotel's systems, I created a detailed map of Victor's movements, his preferences, his schedule. I identified the security cameras that covered his usual routes and figured out their blind spots. But most importantly, I started making friends with people I'd never paid attention to before. Hotel security guards who were tired of dealing with entitled guests, housekeeping staff who'd heard the rumors about Janine and Victor, even some of the kitchen workers who'd been asked to provide special room service at odd hours. It turned out that a lot of people at the Rosewater had been watching Victor St. James, and none of them liked what they saw. By Thursday, I had everything I needed, a plan, allies, and a wife who was finally ready to choose the right side. Victor St. James had no idea what was coming for him. The charity gala was held in the Rosewater's Grand Ballroom, a glittering event that brought together the city's elite to raise money for children's hospitals. The irony wasn't lost on me that we were about to expose a theft ring at an event designed to help sick kids. Victor had given Janine detailed instructions. During the cocktail hour, she would use her master key to access specific guest rooms and photograph valuable items. Later, while everyone was at dinner, she would return to actually steal the items, replacing them with fakes that Victor had provided. What Victor didn't know was that I'd spent the week preparing a different kind of surprise. The evening started perfectly from his perspective. Janine played her role flawlessly, acting nervous but committed to the plan. She even wore a wire, not for the police, but for me, so I could monitor their conversations and coordinate my response. At 7 p.m., while the guests were enjoying cocktails and making small talk about their charitable contributions, Janine began her rounds. But instead of photographing items to steal, she was photographing evidence of Victor's previous thefts, items in his suite that matched insurance claims I'd found online, fake jewelry that could be traced back to specific victims. At 8 p.m., Victor made his move. He left the gala, ostensibly to take a phone call, and headed to his suite to prepare for the night's activities. What he found instead was me, sitting in his living room, surrounded by everything he'd stolen over the past 6 months. Hello, Victor. Or should I call you Vincent Kowalski? That's your real name, right? The one on the warrant out of Chicago? He froze in the doorway, his hand moving instinctively toward his jacket. But I was ready for that. I wouldn't if I were you. See, the thing about being a maintenance guy is that you learn how to fix problems. And you, Vincent, are a problem that needs fixing. Where's Janine? She's downstairs playing her part, just like you taught her. The difference is, now she's playing it for me. Victor's face went through a series of expressions. Surprise, anger, calculation. Finally, he settled on the fake charm that had probably gotten him this far in life. Look, Eric, right? We can work something out. There's enough money in this for all of us. You think this is about money? Everything's about money. Not everything. Some things are about respect. Some things are about trust. And some things are about making sure that people who hurt innocent people get what's coming to them. I stood up and walked to the window, which offered a perfect view of the ballroom below. The gala was in full swing. Hundreds of people in evening wear, completely unaware of the drama playing out above their heads. Here's what's going to happen, Vincent. In about 10 minutes, hotel security is going to receive an anonymous tip about suspicious activity in your suite. When they arrive, they're going to find all the stolen merchandise you've been keeping here, along with detailed records of your sales and evidence linking you to similar thefts in 3 other cities. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of everything I'd found, along with screenshots of the online auction accounts he'd been using to sell stolen goods. I can prove everything, but here's the thing. I'm not going to... Victor looked confused. What? I'm not going to turn this evidence over to the police. I'm going to do something much worse. I'm going to make sure everyone at this gala knows exactly what kind of man you are. Before he could respond, I activated the hotel's public address system, a perk of having master access to all the building's systems. My voice echoed through the ballroom below, clear and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. My name is Eric Daly, and I work maintenance here at the Rosewater. I have an important announcement about one of our guests. Through the window, I could see the crowd looking around in confusion. Hotel staff were scrambling, trying to figure out where the announcement was coming from. For the past 6 months, a man calling himself Victor St. James has been staying in our penthouse suite. During that time, he's been systematically stealing from hotel guests and replacing your valuables with fakes. If you've stayed at the Rosewater recently and noticed that a piece of jewelry doesn't quite look right, or a watch doesn't feel quite right, there's a reason for that. The ballroom erupted in shocked murmurs. I could see people checking their jewelry, pulling out phones to call their insurance companies. Mr. St. James, whose real name is Vincent Kowalski, is currently in Suite 1247. Hotel security is on their way to arrest him, and all stolen items will be returned to their rightful owners. I apologize on behalf of the Rosewater for this violation of your trust. I turned off the PA system and looked at Victor, who had gone pale. You're finished, I told him. Not just here, but everywhere. I've already contacted the FBI about your little interstate operation. I've notified the hotels in Chicago, Miami, and Las Vegas where you pulled similar scams. And I've made sure that your face and your real name are going to be all over the news by tomorrow morning. You don't know what you've done, Victor snarled. I have friends who... Who what? Who are going to come after a hotel maintenance worker? Go ahead. But you might want to consider that I've spent the last week documenting every aspect of your operation, including your friends. Bring them on. I'll add them to the evidence file. The sound of footsteps in the hallway announced the arrival of hotel security, followed by what sounded like half the police department. Victor looked toward the door, then back at me. What about Janine? What about her? She's as guilty as I am. Maybe. But she's also my wife, and she's cooperating with the investigation. You, on the other hand, are going down alone. The door burst open, and Victor St. James, or Vincent Kowalski, was finally facing the consequences of his actions. As the police led him away in handcuffs, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: satisfaction. But the night wasn't over yet. I still had to face the crowd downstairs, the hotel management, and, most importantly, my wife. I found Janine in the lobby, surrounded by police officers and FBI agents who were taking her statement. When she saw me, she broke away from the group and ran to me. Eric, I'm so sorry for everything. I know. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen in months: the woman I'd fallen in love with. She was scared, ashamed, and completely honest for the first time since this whole mess started. I don't know, I said, but I'm willing to try. The FBI agent in charge walked over to us. Mr. Daly, I'm Agent Sarah Chen. We're going to need detailed statements from both of you, but I wanted to thank you. Vincent Kowalski has been on our radar for 2 years. Without your evidence, we never would have been able to build a case against him. What happens now? Kowalski's looking at federal charges in 4 states. He'll be going away for a long time. As for your wife, her cooperation has been invaluable. The prosecutor will take that into consideration. 3 hours later, Janine and I were finally alone in our apartment. We sat on our couch, exhausted and emotionally drained, trying to figure out what came next. Do you really think we can work through this? She asked. I think we can try, but things are going to be different, Janine. I can't just pretend this never happened. I know, and I don't expect you to. I just want the chance to prove that I'm still the woman you married. Then prove it, every day for as long as it takes. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I promise. 6 months later, Vincent Kowalski was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. The Rosewater implemented new security measures and offered compensation to all affected guests. Janine and I started marriage counseling and slowly, carefully began rebuilding our relationship. It wasn't easy. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal overnight, but we were both committed to making it work, and that made all the difference. As for me, I kept working maintenance at the Rosewater, fixing problems and keeping things running smoothly, because that's what I do. I fix things that are broken. And sometimes, if you're patient and careful and willing to do the work, you can fix them better than they were before.